All right, welcome to this week's episode of the Fantasy Fanatics Podcast. I'm your host once again, James, and I'm joined once again by Nate. What's up, man?
So,
All right, in today's episode, we're going to recap the rest of the NFL draft. I know we touched on round one on last week's episode. We'll get through some of our favorite picks and some of our maybe least favorite picks, and I guess some of the other picks from rounds 2 to 7. We'll go through that and we'll sort of talk about that. Then we'll head over to the NBA where we'll take a look at what's going on in the NBA playoffs, sort of, I guess, give our thoughts on who we like for upcoming games. And we'll do the same thing for the NHL playoffs, which are also underway. And we'll do that to sort of close out the podcast. So, yeah, let's just get right into it. Let's start with the NFL. The NFL draft is done. So it was a wild ride, lots of picks, lots of trades. I know we talked about some of that stuff in round one, but now we'll get to round two. I guess I'll start with you. Give me your steal from round two. Give me a guy that you maybe thought they reached for, or the team really didn't need to draft that player. And then I guess give me, if there were any draft picks from your team, the Cleveland Browns.
sure. So I guess I'll start off with the steal, and I guess I'll put Christian Watson. And I guess this is going to be kind of a continuation of round one. I believe Green Bay decided not to go for a wide receiver, so the question was, were they going to have adequate help in Aaron Rodgers? So they decided to go with Christian Watson, who was projected to be drafted in the first round. Really talented wide receiver as well. So I think that adequately answers the question. So I think this is a good steal for the draft. And I put David Ojabo from the Ravens as a possible reach. Not because he's not talented. He's really talented. It's just that he's currently injured at the time he was drafted, if I remember correctly. So it's a bit of a risk. He could end up not necessarily working out, but if it does work out, he'll definitely help the Ravens for sure. So yeah, I guess there's some risk there. And for the Browns, I don't think there were any picks there.
All right. So, I'll get to my steal, my reach, and my team, the Patriots, what they did in round two. So for steal, I'll start with Breece Hall, running back taken by the Jets. I mean, this guy was projected to go late in the first round, and he sort of fell into the second round. I think he's a great steal. I think it's great what they're doing, pairing him with a guy like Michael Carter that they already have there in New York. I mean, they hit on most of their first round selections for the most part, and this was a great way to start the second round. The Jets look really strong. In terms of reach, I put Wan'Dale Robinson, wide receiver, for the New York Giants. And I just feel like there were, much better wide receivers they could have taken instead of him. And I mean, he's only projected to be like sort of a slot receiver, maybe wide receiver 3, that type of thing. Plus, they already have guys like Kenny Golladay, and many others on their roster, like Kadarius Toney and other young guys that they drafted last year. So I felt like this wasn't really a need for the Giants. I felt like they could have gone in another direction, but I guess that's my opinion. And then I guess for the Patriots, they took wide receiver Tyquan Thornton. I know this was a big discussion about whether some people felt it was a bit of a reach. Some people felt it was a steal considering he was the fastest wide receiver in the draft. Honestly, I think they'll make good use of him. Definitely a speedster is always great when it comes to creating mismatches on the defense. So I'm sort of happy with the Patriots for doing that. And then, I guess we'll get to round three. And now I'll get to you for your draft picks.
So I guess for round three, my steal, I decided to pick Jalen Tolbert for a steal of round three. He was, I think, projected to be drafted either in round two or in round three. So I think he, at the position that Dallas drafted him, I think that's pretty good value. And I put Jelani Woods as a reach for the Colts, mainly because I feel like they drafted him too high, and I don't think that tight end is necessarily for the Colts. So um, it looks like he's going to be a depth piece, at least for now, but I feel like maybe they could have drafted him a little bit later, even though he is really talented. And I guess the Browns picks were Martin Emerson, Alex Wright, and David Bell. I'm not really too sure about them. I don't think they're bad. They should be able to help the Browns out. So yeah, that's my thing.
All right. And I guess I will get to my steal of round 3. And I believe that's quarterback Malik Willis, drafted by the Tennessee Titans. I mean, people were projecting him to go as high as 2nd overall in the draft. The fact that he fell to the 3rd round, I mean, with all of his athletic ability, I mean, yeah, this could end up being a steal. This could be like another one of these big time quarterbacks in the league. I guess considering all of his physical traits and everything. So yeah, I really like this pick by Tennessee. They waited it out and they got him in round 3. That's pretty impressive. The reach I put was JT Woods, safety taken by the LA Chargers. I think that he's an excellent player. I just didn't feel like it was a position of need for them, considering they shored up their secondary. They have guys like Derwin James. They drafted Asante Samuel last year. They have a guy like J.C. Jackson coming in. I mean, there's many other positions that the Chargers could have addressed. So I just feel like that maybe they didn't need to take the pick. And then as for the Patriots, they drafted corner Marcus Jones. We know the Patriots needed to draft a corner to replace J.C. Jackson. So this was pretty much just a routine pick for them. I'm not going to judge them on it. I think that he is a good player. And I think that, he's just going to sort of fit right in and sort of develop in this defensive system. So, that's it for round 3. Now I'll get to you for round 4 and your picks.
So I guess for round 4, I'll go start off with the steal. I think Cade Otton is possible steal for the Bucks in round 4. It does depend on if I guess Gronk is coming back or not, but if he's not, it's definitely gonna help out the Buccaneers. And I put a Caleb Evans as a possible reach for the Vikings. Mainly because I felt like they should have gone for a little bit more depth on offense first. I think the Vikings, they waited quite a bit to start picking some players on offense, so that's the only reason why I thought that was a reach. And for the Browns, they took Perrion Winfrey, which I like. He's a defensive tackle. He looks like he's pretty good, but they also drafted Cade York. I think Cade York is supposed to be a really talented either a punter or a kicker, if I remember correctly. But even with that, I feel like hunters or kickers shouldn't be drafted. I guess in round 4, maybe a little bit later than that, because you could get other players in earlier rounds, and in later rounds, maybe we could go for a punter or a kicker. But I feel like round 4 is a little bit too high still.
Yeah, I definitely agree. I think Evan McPherson was drafted in round 4 last year, but he's pretty much a generational talent when it comes to the kicking position. I feel like that, if you're not at that level, you should be drafted a little bit deeper. Definitely agree. And then, I'll get to my steal of round 4, and that is Kobe Bryant, not the late Kobe Bryant, but the corner drafted by the Seahawks. He should be really solid for them. We know that the Seahawks have had holes in their secondary, so he just fits right in. He comes out of Cincinnati. He played with first round corner Sauce Gardner, so we know that he had to cover some top receivers from Alabama as well. So he's played against top level competition, and I definitely think he'll be solid for the Seahawks. For reach, I put Isaiah Likely, tight end, who went to the Baltimore Ravens. I believe they took 2 tight ends in that same round, and this was the second of the 2. I feel like that they could have went in another direction. They didn't need to double up considering they already have Mark Andrews and Nick Boyle on the roster. So the chances that one of these guys is probably not going to play is probably the reason why they should address some other areas, considering like their offensive line was banged up, their secondary was banged up. They have a lot of their running backs. They all like had torn ACLs and stuff. I know they did draft running backs, but yeah, I definitely think that they didn't need to take two tight ends in the same round. And then as for the Patriots, 3 picks in round 4, Jack Jones, corner, Pierre Strong, running back, and Bailey Zapp, quarterback. I guess Jack Jones, solid pick. Definitely need to draft a lot of players for the secondary to sort of shore that up, as they like to rotate in a number of corners. So I understand the pick. Pierre Strong, he's a solid running back. I know that they might not need him right away, but I'm not going to fault them for the pick since they have a running back committee usually every year. They don't just rely on one back, so it does make sense. Bailey Zapp, it's a questionable pick. They really didn't need to take a quarterback in this draft, but considering that Brian Hoyer might be considering retirement, and I guess Jared Stidham didn't fully develop the way they wanted to, this is maybe a chance of them getting a backup quarterback for Mac Jones. So I'm not going to really call it a reach. I'm just going to say that, yeah, if he develops into a solid backup, then I'm not going to complain. So, yeah, let me get to you for round 5.
So for round 5, I'll start off with Steele again. And I really like Khalil Shakir. He was drafted by the Bills. I think he was projected as a round 4 draft, but the Bills, I guess, waited for Khalil to fall to them before they picked him. So I think that's a definite steal for that. And for reach, I put Montreal Washington for the Broncos. I think Montreal Washington, he's a pretty good wide receiver, but the Broncos already have a lot of wide receivers. I guess just looking at the depth chart, they have Courtland Sutton, Tim Patrick, Jerry Jeudy. They have a lot of wide receivers already, and I feel like they don't have enough at the line. I think left and right guard is only 3 deep. Center is also 3 deep as of the end of the draft. So they probably could have gone for some more linemen instead. And I guess for the Browns picks, I think they ended up getting Jerome Ford. So I think it's an okay pick, but yeah, that's just my opinion.
For sure. And getting to my round 5 for steals, I have Micah McFadden, linebacker from Indiana that went to the Giants. Considering that he was projected to go earlier than round 5, I definitely think this is a steal. I know the Giants need to improve their run defense, so I think definitely a solid pick for them. For reach, I put Snoop Connor, running back, who went to Jacksonville. I feel like Jacksonville has 2 solid running backs right now in James Robinson and Travis Etienne. So I just feel like this draft, like their depth chart's pretty deep when it comes to running back. I felt like that they could have used this pick on something else instead of taking another running back. And then, no picks in this round for the New England Patriots. So I guess I'm just going to get right back to you for round 6. I guess, who do you have?
I guess for the steal, I put Badarian Lowe for the Vikings. I guess it kind of makes up for not drafting enough offensive players because they let Badarian Lowe fall to them in round 5. So I'll count that as a steal. For reach, I'll put James Houston as a reach for the Lions, mainly because I feel like they could have gone for another position. And for the Browns, they drafted Michael Woods II. I think that's an okay pick as well.
All right. And I guess for round 6, my steal is going to be Connor Hayward, tight end for the Pittsburgh Steelers. And yeah, I mean, his brother Cam Hayward currently plays for the team. He has a lot of high praise for this draft pick. So I feel like Pittsburgh made a wise decision, especially if they want to play hard nose, running the ball football, getting another tight end in there to block. I definitely think is a solid solution. And yeah, I guess for reach, I put Matt Araiza. He's a punter taken by the Buffalo Bills. I mean, I don't know whether like the Bills should have taken a punter. I feel like they could have addressed another position, but yeah, just I just feel like it was a bit of a reach. And then as for the Patriots, they had 3 picks. They had Kevin Harris, running back, Sam Roberts, defensive tackle, and Chasen Hines, center. I feel like Kevin Harris maybe shouldn't have been taken since they already have another running back in Pierre Strong in the earlier rounds, but the other 2 picks I really like. Sam Roberts, defensive tackle, definitely needed a good run stopper, so hopefully he'll be that guy. And then Jason Hines, backup center. David Andrews isn't going to play forever, so yeah, good pick there. And I guess I'll get to you for round 7.
So for round 7, I'll start off with Thayer Munford Jr. for the Raiders. I think this was a steal considering he was projected to be drafted a lot earlier, and they basically fell all the way to the 7th rounds. And I think that's a lot of value that the Raiders got for him. And for reach, I'll go for, I guess, Brock Purdy for the 49ers, mainly because I don't think it was necessary for the 49ers to draft another quarterback. So he probably could have gone for another position at where they picked. And I guess for the 2 rounds picks, they got Isaiah Thomas and Dawson Heaton. I don't really have too much of an opinion on them yet. I think Dawson Heaton, he's going to fill out the roster at center, so he's definitely going to bring some depth there. So I think that's pretty good. And I guess you can always use another edge rusher in Isaiah Thomas. So yeah, I kind of like those picks.
Yeah, speaking of NBA names, we had Kobe Bryant, we had Isaiah Thomas, and my round 7 steal is Chris Paul, the guard taken by Washington. But in all seriousness, I think he is a steal. I think he's going to be really solid. They got a lot of good value for him in the 7th round. Definitely a solid pick there. The reach, I had Derek Young, wide receiver, taken by the Seattle Seahawks. I just feel like that they don't have a really huge need at wide receiver. I feel like, they already took one earlier in the 7th round, and that was Bo Melton. So for them to double up, I don't feel like was great considering they have a lot of other holes on their roster. So Seattle had a pretty good draft overall. This is just one of the picks that I felt like they reached for. And then the Patriots took Andrew Stuber, offensive tackle. And I mean, just getting a solid offensive line has been one of the goals for the Patriots almost every year in the draft, to sort of protect the investment they have in Mac Jones. So, yeah, I definitely think it was a solid pick. And yeah, pretty good draft overall. We got through round 1 at Alice's last episode. We got through rounds 2 to 7. I guess any last thoughts on the draft as a whole?
Not really too many thoughts on the draft as a whole. I think that there's some pretty decent talent in the first 2 rounds this time around, but I think in terms of, I guess, drafting hunters, I feel like Cade York probably could have been taken a little bit later, but he could prove everybody wrong with his potential talent. So we'll have to see.
Yeah, and I'm surprised how late quarterbacks went. There was only one in round 1, and the next one, they went in like I believe round 3. They didn't go until, I don't think I saw one in round 2, if I'm not mistaken. So yeah, quarterbacks went pretty late, which was surprising to me. A lot of defensive players went early in the draft. And yeah, I think it was a pretty good draft overall. Yeah, Cleveland obviously didn't have as many picks as previous years, but I mean, they're almost a championship level team. So I guess, how do you feel they did overall?
Well, I guess they pretty much did the best of what they had. They didn't really have first round pick. They didn't have a second round pick either, so they were drafting in later rounds. So it's a lot more difficult to find, I guess, really high quality players at those rounds compared to the first or second round. So I think they did pretty well considering.
Yeah, and then I guess for me, for the Patriots, they sort of went unconventional as they normally do. They took players that most teams probably didn't have as high up on their board, but we know that's something that the Patriots like to do when other teams zig. Bill Belichick zags. He sort of plays 3D chess all the time. So yeah, we'll have to see if those picks turn out. But yeah, I definitely think it was a pretty good draft overall. All right, yeah, that's going to be the end of our draft recap and Fanatics football. So let's just jump into some big time basketball. We have the NBA playoffs going on right now. Um, I guess we can start with the Eastern Conference and we'll sort of take a look at each series here. Um, yeah, it looks like Miami is up on the Philadelphia 76ers, the 1-4 series. Miami's up 1-0. Um, yeah, they won on Monday night 106-92. You had Tobias Harris leading the Sixers with 27 points, Tyler Hero leading Miami with 25. And then in terms of rebounds, Paul Reed led the Sixers with 9, and Bam Adebayo had 12 to lead Miami. And for assists, James Harden had 5 to lead Philly, and Tyler Hero had 7 to lead Miami. No Joel Embiid in this game, no Kyle Lowry in this game. I guess give me your thoughts on this result.
Yeah, I feel like both teams are really deep, but Miami is an especially deep team with um, really good players. I feel like Embiid has a lot of impact for this team, and the team's pretty much built around Embiid first. So when he's injured, I feel like 76ers kind of. Unfortunately, James Harden, he played, I guess, decently, 16 points, but um, he normally gets more points than that. So it's a little bit disappointing. He only shot 2 for 7. Um, so not necessarily his best game. Wasn't too bad, but hopefully they'll be able to find a way to bounce back.
Yeah, I definitely agree. Speaking of bouncing back, the next game is scheduled for Wednesday. It looks like the Miami Heat are favored by 8.5 points. I assume that means Embiid is going to be out of the lineup again. I guess, do you see the Heat covering the spread, or do you think the Sixers can keep it close?
Um, I think that um, without Embiid, we'll have to wait and see if there's going to be an adjustment. So if there's no adjustment from the 76ers side, then we might be able to go for the Heat on this.
Yeah, I'm kind of liking Miami as well. They're at home. They won double digits last game. I think it's going to be more of the same. So I think I would go with Miami as well. We'll get to the 2-3 series. That game just finished Tuesday night. And I believe the Boston Celtics beat the Milwaukee Bucks 109-86 to tie the series at 1. Just getting to the stats here, Jaylen Brown leading Boston with 30 points. Giannis Antetokounmpo had 28 to lead the Bucks. Al Horford led Boston with 11 rebounds, while Giannis had 9 to lead the Bucks. Giannis also added 7 assists to lead the Bucks, while Jason Tatum had 8 to lead Boston. Series is tied here. I guess give me your thoughts on this.
I'm really impressed because this is almost the opposite of last game. So last game, the Bucks were able to win 101-89 against the Celtics, if I remember correctly. So this game looks like it's about 109-86. So pretty big swings from both teams. And I guess I was expecting this to be a lot closer considering Giannis was playing really well game one. His mid-range has really improved. His playmaking has improved. His overall skill set has improved, but it looks like the Celtics found a way to kind of work around that. Giannis still ended up having really good production from the game, but it looks like outside of Drew Holiday, Bobby Portis, and Pat Connaughton, I guess the rest of the players, they kind of fell a little short. So I'm guessing this could be, I guess they're missing Chris Middleton a little bit. So hopefully the Bucks bounce back from that.
Yeah, hopefully they do bounce back. The next game is on Thursday. No spread for that. It's going to be in Milwaukee. I think the spread will be pretty close. So I guess picking a winner, who would you take to win game 3?
It's hard to say. I think that for game 3, I guess maybe since the Bucks are at home, maybe you can go with the Bucks.
Yeah, I think at that point, they have to make some sort of adjustments to what happened in this game. I think I might lean with the Bucks as well, or unless it's a bigger spread, lean with the team getting the plus points, because I think that next game could be a lot closer than what we've seen so far. So that I definitely think that. And then let's get now to the Western Conference. We'll start with the 1-4 seed game. The 1-4 series, and that's Phoenix Suns against the Dallas Mavericks. The Suns are up in the series 1-0, and that was 121-114 win on Monday. Luka Doncic pretty much tried to do everything for Dallas. He led them with 45 points, led them with 12 rebounds and 8 assists. Just couldn't get it done. DeAndre Ayton had 25 points to lead the Suns. Devin Booker, 9 rebounds and 8 assists to lead Phoenix. Suns looked really good. I really like the way they're playing so far. I guess, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I really like the way they're playing as well. I guess the Suns were expected to be one of the teams to beat, so I guess they're playing, pretty much up to their expectations. They're playing really well right now. Aiden Booker and Chris Paul all had really good production. And Johnson had good production as well. Luka had a Herculean effort, 45, 12, and 8. So I think that's really good as well. But I think it's going to come up to the rest of the team to kind of help them.
Yeah, the rest of the team has to help out. You're right. I don't even think Spencer Dinwiddie had double-digit points last game. So, yeah, they definitely need some of that secondary scoring to come through for them if the Mavericks want to tie up the series. Well, heading into game 2, it looks like the Suns are favored by 6 points at home. I would probably go with the Suns to cover the spread again, but I guess, what are your thoughts?
I guess just go with the Suns until Dallas starts adjusting.
Yeah, the Suns are a completely different team with Devin Booker healthy, as we've seen. They pretty much handled the Pelicans the moment he came back, and then they're doing the same to Dallas. So, yeah, this team's legit. They definitely are going to be really solid going forward. And then getting to the last series in the West, it's the 2-3 series, the Memphis Grizzlies against the Golden State Warriors. The Warriors are actually up in this series 1-0. I believe they won by 1 point in game 1. Game 2 is currently going on right now at the end of the third quarter. It is tied 77-77. So, this game is as tight as it gets. We'll definitely have to see who will take game 2. But if Memphis loses both home games, do you think they're in trouble in terms of potentially getting swept?
I think they're in danger, but I feel like each game has been really close. So I think they should at least be able to push it to game 5 just because of how hard they're pushing the Warriors. So it should go to game 5. Hopefully it doesn't end up being a sweep, because they're pushing the Warriors to the limit every game and they're keeping pace. So it'd be disappointing to see. So yeah, hopefully they at least push it to game 5.
Yeah, hopefully they come away with at least one win at home. So we'll see what happens in this game. And then, I guess going forward, first game in Golden State will probably be on Thursday, if I'm not mistaken. I guess, do you see Golden State winning at home, or do you maybe see Memphis covering the spread? Because they'll definitely be the plus on the spread.
Depends how high the spread's going to be. I think the spread's been around 2 points for each of the games so far, so it's kind of hard to say. I guess the Warriors, I guess, will probably win at least the first game at home, but yeah, I guess maybe just go with the Warriors to cover for them.
Yeah, I'm kind of leaning towards the Warriors as well. Even if Memphis does win this next game and tie the series, I think Golden State going back home is going to be huge for them. As long as the spread isn't over like 6 or 7, I definitely think Golden State should be able to cover it at home. I mean, I like them to win this series going in. So, yeah, I definitely think that they have been playing pretty solid. And I guess, yeah, that's pretty much an outlook at what's going on in the NBA playoffs. I guess any last thoughts for you?
Um, this playoffs has been really interesting. I think the games have been a lot more, I guess, a lot more physical this time around. So I guess for people who like to watch physical basketball, probably, I guess maybe they're enjoying it a little bit more. It's great to see the improvement of a lot of the players, especially Giannis's improvement. He was known mainly just for his athleticism, but he's really expanded his skill set. So it's going to be interesting to see how the series goes out.
Yeah, I definitely agree. And I guess it was great to see Boston bounce back, make it a series. Because I feel like if Milwaukee goes up 2-0, going back home, I think that could be it, you know. So it's great to see Boston do that. And yeah, talking about physical, yeah, we'll now get to everything NHL. And the NHL playoffs have been pretty physical. So Nate, I'll let you take that one.
All right. And I guess for the playoffs, we'll start off on the East. And we'll talk about Florida versus the Washington Capitals first. And give us your thoughts on the series so far.
Yeah, game one was Tuesday night, and Washington gets the upset win. They win 4-2. I guess let me take a look at who scored here. Yeah, Tom Wilson, Evgeny Kuznetsov, TJ Oshie, and Lars Eller all scored for Washington. So these were all guys on their Stanley Cup winning team from 2018. They have a lot of experience. They brought that into this matchup. As we know, Florida has not won a first round series since 1996. So they're looking to end that drought this year. Sam Bennett and Claude Giroux scored for them, two recent acquisitions over this past year. But yeah, I guess Washington, they looked like the better team here. Um, yeah, I don't know what else to say. Florida, they've been scoring so many goals throughout the season, like 6+ goals almost every game, and then they come around and they only score two. Washington sort of tightens things up. I don't know. It's going to be interesting to see. I did like Washington heading into this game. I felt like they had good upset potential, considering, yeah, they're one of the better road teams in the league. And yeah, they got it done. So it'll be interesting to see how Florida responds for the next game.
For sure. And I guess taking a look at the next game for Florida versus Washington, it looks like it's going to be at Florida's home again. So do you think Florida can get a win at their home?
Yeah, I think they do, because if they don't, I think this series is going to be done. Like this is pretty much must win at this point for Florida. I think that they definitely bounce back. They've sort of, I guess, tasted what playoff hockey is like compared to the regular season for this year. So I feel like maybe they were caught a bit by surprise. So I think they definitely settle down next game, and I think that they can definitely get the win.
For sure. And I guess we'll move on to a game that I'm pretty sure you enjoyed watching, the series of the Leafs against the Lightning. Give us your thoughts on that.
Yeah, Monday night, that was a crazy game. Toronto taking game one by a score of 5-0 against defending Stanley Cup champion Tampa Bay Lightning. I mean, like the Leafs, they set the tone right away. I know Kyle Clifford did get suspended for that hit, but it sort of got the team going after the penalty kill. You had Jake Muzzin score. Austin Matthews had two. David Kampf had a shorthanded goal, and then Mitch Marner also scored to sort of end that drought in the playoffs that he had going over the past couple of years. So, yeah, the Leafs, they definitely looked a lot different than previous years. We'll definitely see how that translates into sort of the rest of the series. I guess as for Tampa Bay, they sort of look like they came out with cement in their skates. They just really weren't looking like the defending champion. They were getting outchanced by the Leafs. The Leafs looked like the faster team. They looked like the stronger team. And yeah, Jack Campbell looked like the better goalie. 24 save shutout for him against Andrei Vasilevsky, who is one of the better goalies in the league. So a great win for the Leafs. We'll definitely see how game two goes. Yeah, it was a huge surprise for me how the Leafs beat Tampa in this game.
And it's really good that the Leafs got their first win at home, because I think their game two is going to be in Toronto again. So they have the chance to have, I guess, a two 2-game lead on Tampa Bay, but do you think they'll get it?
Yeah, looking at game two, it's definitely not going to be this wide open. I definitely think it will be a tighter game. Tampa Bay will sort of adjust because I mean, um, yeah, I think that they've done a really good job doing that over the past couple of years, over the championship run. So the Leafs are definitely not going to have an easy matchup. I could see it pretty much going either way. I assume Toronto will try and take it at home, considering they have been consistently beating Tampa Bay at their home, but going into Tampa Bay is going to be more of a challenge since they haven't been as successful there. So yeah, I will take Toronto to win game two. I guess game three is probably going to be more of the question, but yeah, with this new look that Toronto has, sort of playing a lot tougher, they're playing faster, they're sort of trying to set the tempo instead of sort of reacting to other teams. I definitely like what they've done so far.
Sure. And I guess moving on to the next series, we have Carolina versus Boston. And what are your thoughts so far?
Yeah, this game was not even close. I thought maybe Boston had a chance to sort of upset in game one, considering Freddie Anderson was not available to play in goal for Carolina, but they won either way. They lit up this Boston team, 5 goals. Seth Jarvis, Nino Niederreiter, Turvo Teravainen, and Vincent Trocheck, and then with Svechnikov getting the empty netter late in the game. Carolina, they played a full solid game. There's not much else to say. Taylor Hall was the only guy that scored for Boston. Boston, they looked kind of. I mean, they started out well. I was watching the beginning of this game. They came out fast, but then Carolina just kind of controlled the like most of the game after that, and they just didn't let Boston do anything. So, yeah, I definitely think Boston. They probably will come out better for game two. But yeah, Carolina, I mean, they didn't even have their starting goalie and they got the win here and they dominated. So yeah, I think that this series, I hope it's not done early, but Carolina is really looking like a really solid team right now.
Well, I guess knowing Boston, they're a pretty storied franchise. I guess in multiple sports and in hockey as well. So they probably know what to do to adjust and to bounce back. But looking at game two, it's going to be at the Hurricanes' home again. So I guess Boston may have to dig deep, but do you think they can get an upset here?
I think that they can. I feel like that they're definitely going to adjust. That's one thing that Boston does in the playoffs is they adjust pretty well. So they're also going to make a goaltending change. Most likely, Jeremy Swayman will be the goalie instead of Linus Ullmark. I know a lot of Boston fans were complaining when Swayman didn't get to start in this game, as they sort of consider him their goalie of the future, and they think he's the better of the two. So yeah, I agree. Give Swayman a shot, and I think that he should be able to play pretty well. Should be able to give them that boost that they need. So yeah, maybe I'll take Boston in game two.
Okay. And moving on to the next series, we have the Rangers against the Penguins. So, what are your thoughts on this series so far?
As we're recording, this game is in triple overtime. So they're in the 6th period, which means the 6th hour of the game. This is actually insane. I don't know how this is happening right now. What is it, like 4 consecutive periods with no goals? That's pretty insane. Like I think, yeah, Adam Fox scored for the Rangers in the first period. Then Andrew Kopp and Chris Kreider both scored for the Rangers in the second period, while Gensel had 2 for Pittsburgh and Rust had 1. All those were in the second period. Third period had no goals. First overtime, no goals. Second overtime, no goals. And it's currently in the third overtime, and there's no goals so far. So yeah, I don't know what else to say. This series is interesting. I have no idea why Pittsburgh has swapped their goalies. Maybe there was an injury of some sort because it looks like Louis Domingue is in instead of Casey DeSmith. So they're now down to their third string goalie. Yeah, this is going to be interesting actually to sort of see what's going on with that. Domingue looks like he's played well so far, 14 saves since coming in relief. So, yeah, I'm not sure what the situation is. I'm not currently viewing the game. I was viewing it a little bit earlier, but yeah, the series is as tight as it gets. And I know you're probably going to ask for next game. Honestly, whoever wins this game will probably have momentum heading into next game. So, yeah, it's going to be interesting. I know the Rangers will be at home again, so you might lean with them, but honestly, this game's a coin flip. This entire series is a coin flip the way it's looked.
Yeah, it's been really impressive just seeing how these two teams can basically skate a marathon spin, 6 hours, he said. So that's really impressive for both teams. So I think this could end up being one of the best series this playoffs.
Yeah, I definitely agree. It's the 2 and 3 seeds in the Metro division, so they were close to each other in points, anyways. They're division rivals. Yeah, it's going to be a close series for sure.
Sure. And I guess starting off with the West, we have Colorado versus the Nashville Predators. Give us your thoughts on the series so far.
Yeah, this series is in the middle of game one, and as we're recording, it's the end of the second period, and the Colorado's up 6-1. The series is not even close right now, considering Nashville's starting goalie UC Saros is injured heading into the series. So they're, I don't know which goalies have played in this game. Let me just take a look. So for Nashville, I believe both of their goalies did play. I think Riddick got yanked after allowing the first 5 goals, and then Connor Ingram came in and he allowed 1 goal. So not looking good for the Predators right now, being without their starting goalie. It looks like he's going to miss the first 2 games in Colorado at least, if not more. This could end up being a sweep. It's 6-1 right now. McKinnon scored for them. Devon Taves, Andrew Cogliano, Cale Makar, Arturi Lehkonen, and Gabriel Landeskog, who is back healthy. They all scored. Then Matt Duchene just added one recently to sort of make it, to sort of break the shutout at this point. Yeah, it's not even going to make it close. Yeah, I'm predicting a sweep. So if you're asking me about game 2, I'm going to say Colorado again.
All right. I guess it's just kind of unfortunate for Nashville because Colorado has a really crazy offense. So, I mean, hopefully they at least push it to 5. But it looks like Colorado is going to be taking the series.
Yeah, I think every game that they play without Saros is probably going to be a loss for the Predators because when he plays, he's pretty much one of their difference makers. But yeah, they don't have a starting goalie right now.
Unfortunate. And I guess moving on to probably a closer series, we have Minnesota versus St. Louis. Give us your thoughts on that.
Well, I mean, it could have been closer, but the game 1 didn't even look close. These two teams, similar records to each other, but St. Louis just dominated 4-0 win in game 1. I watched pretty much the whole game of this one. And yeah, St. Louis, they rolled 4 lines and they just dominated. David Perron had a hat trick. Ryan O'Reilly had a goal. Marc-Andre Fleury was clearly the best player for Minnesota, as the rest of the team just really didn't look like they had it to sort of compete with St. Louis. Yeah, if Minnesota doesn't turn things around and make adjustments for game 2, I think that this series will be over in quick fashion, considering like Minnesota did have the better record in the regular season, but St. Louis still beat them all 3 times in the regular season and once now in the playoffs. So yeah, I don't know what Minnesota needs to do, but they definitely need to do something to turn things around.
Well, they do have another chance in game 2. It's going to be at Minnesota's home. So do you think they'll be able to get a win?
I want to say they will, just because I feel like that they have to make some sort of adjustments. My only question that's raised is like they don't have as much depth as St. Louis, in my opinion, so they could end up like getting like the game could end up being close, and then St. Louis could maybe find a way to win it late. I guess if they start Marc-Andre Fleury, I feel like that he'll sort of be able to shut the door again and they can sort of bounce back. If they change goalies, then maybe I might lean towards St. Louis. So yeah, right now I'm kind of liking Minnesota at home for game 2.
All right. And moving on to Calgary versus Dallas. It's been a really good season for Calgary so far, but what are your thoughts on the series?
Okay, so the series, game 1's currently underway. The Flames are up 1-0. Elias Lindholm scored in the first period. The game's currently in the middle of the second period as we're recording. Yeah, I think that a lot of people think the Flames are going to be a powerhouse, but I think Dallas can keep up with them. Dallas did beat them 2 years ago in the playoffs, so I think that they're definitely solid enough to do that. I do think Calgary will win the series though, and I think that they will hold on to win game 1. So yeah, game two. Yeah, I think I like Calgary in both game one and game two. They just seem like the better team. Dallas should be able to take at least one when they go back home. But yeah, I think Calgary, I would give them the edge over Dallas for sure.
for sure. And I guess moving on to, I think this could end up being another really close series. The Oilers and the Kings. What are your thoughts on the series so far?
Yeah, my thoughts on the series so far is that the Oilers, they didn't really look as good as I thought that they would look heading into the series. It seemed like most of their offense was generated when McDavid was on the ice, and then the Kings pretty much dominated the rest. And yeah, the goalie mishap that Mike Smith did, giving the puck away, and then it ended up being the game-winning goal. Yeah, it just didn't look good. The Kings had Trevor Moore, Alex Iafallo, Brendan Lemieux, and then Philip Deneau, who got that goal from the giveaway. And then for the Oilers, it was pretty much Connor McDavid, Kyler Yamamoto, and Leon Draisaitl. Yeah, at that point, yeah, the Kings, they looked like the better team considering they have all these injuries. They just had a good system, in my opinion. That's what they did in this game, and they just outplayed Edmonton. Edmonton had all these chances. They couldn't beat Jonathan Quick. He looked like a phenomenal goalie in this game. Yeah, the Oilers, they got to find a way to bounce back because yeah, it didn't end well in this game.
Well, they do have a chance in game two. It's going to be in Edmonton again. Um, I mean, they do have a really good offense in the one man fast break himself, Connor McDavid. They do have a really good offense in general. So, do you think they can generate enough offense to win?
They have to. I mean, this is pretty much must win for Edmonton. I'm going to pick them. But yeah, if the Kings win this, I think the series is probably going to be done because they will probably have it all figured out how to shut down this Oilers offense. So Oilers just need to go and they need to score first. That was the issue that they didn't do. They allowed the Kings to sort of take the lead every time instead of setting the tone themselves. So yeah, that's what the Oilers need to change. And yeah, I think they can win game two. I think that game one, they were sort of, just feeling out this Kings team, but I definitely think that the Oilers offense should be able to exploit them in the next game.
Sure. And that about looks like all the playoff games so far for the NHL. And what are your final thoughts?
Yeah, the playoffs has been crazy. We mentioned how physical it's been. There are a bunch of fines, a bunch of suspensions handed out after just day one of the playoffs. I think like four players got fined. One or two guys got suspended. It was like, yeah, teams went crazy. There were brawls. Like in the Toronto Tampa game, there was the St. Louis Minnesota game. There was a lot of fighting in it. Yeah, the other two games weren't as bad, but yeah, a lot of yeah, just physical play. And yeah, I mean, it's great hockey. I definitely want to see if it keeps up. And then yeah, I guess last thoughts. Hopefully Toronto can get it done in game two. I'll definitely be cheering them on for sure.
For sure. And I guess I'll also be hoping that Toronto somehow, I guess, gets a win against Tampa Bay because I think Toronto, they've also had a pretty long playoff drought. So it'd be nice to see if they can snap the playoff drought. It'd be nice to see how far a team like Florida goes or even the New York Rangers because those teams haven't really made it too far in the playoffs. So it'd be nice to see some teams that haven't, I guess, gotten their chance to make a deep run to make their run. I feel like this could be the playoffs where we could see some, I guess, some interesting upsets or some teams that we don't expect to make a run to make a run. So yeah, hopefully that happens this year.
Yeah, I definitely agree. And just an update, the Pittsburgh game finally ended in triple overtime. The Penguins did end up beating the New York Rangers 4-3. Evgeny Malkin scored 5 minutes into that third overtime period. So long game. But the Penguins do get the upset win against the Rangers. We'll definitely see how the Rangers respond. I definitely think they can respond and they should play a good, solid game for game two. So I'll definitely lean with the Rangers there.
Yeah, I feel like it's hopefully not going to be another marathon game, but if it is, then I guess at least you'll get your money's worth.
Yeah, for sure. I think Pittsburgh, they had the sort of playoff experience that you needed to go into these long games. So I think that's why they were able to pull this one out.
Sure. And I guess for the Oilers, hopefully they'll be able to get a deep run as well.
Yeah, it's been a long time for them. So hopefully McDavid can sort of get something done in the playoffs.
Yeah. And that's about it for this week on Everything NHL and the Fantasy Fanatics Podcast. If you liked what you watched, you can subscribe, hit the bell for notifications, give us a like, give us a review, give us your thoughts on any of the sports, either NHL, NFL, or the NBA. If you liked what you listened to, you can follow us on Spotify. You can also follow us on Apple Music and Google Podcasts. And if you need some sports picks, you can follow us on FanFan Podcast on both Twitter and Instagram. And we'll see you guys next week.